Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's the second day of our conference, and I would like to cordially welcome each one of you who decided to participate in the conference. I cordially welcome speakers, attendees, participants as well. Today's session will be chaired by Professor Jacek Jurkovic and Professor Paweł Kostka, and without further ado, I would like to ask them to take the floor, please.
Hello, everybody. Because the first presenter is Professor Kostka, my colleague who leads this session. So I would like to invite him, introduce him. Professor is going to present a presentation about virtual biomedical engineering and STEM education, yes, about this project. We would like to present this project. So welcome, Professor. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman of all the conference, dear Professor, dear Professor Navrat, because you will be the hero of the second part of my presentation. Thank you for coming here. Also, very strong group I can see from I said the previous name, just ITAM, as the Institute of Medical Equipment and Medical Devices. Also, we welcome our students, both from Polish study and also international English BE. We are only one in Poland BE direction with full English study. But what we are going to do is first some obligatory meeting. You know, I used to conduct a research and development project, but this kind of project is from the family of the mild one, so educational project, and this is what we have on the bottom of the page. Today, I sure you know, we attend the multiplayer meeting. Is the obligatory meeting of this kind of project supported by Erasmus Plus educational project, but I think it won't be very big obligation for us, but I think the useful time also encourage to discussion. So in the first part, I would like to present the results because the project is just ending. And the project acronym is VIBE, which you can see explained as Virtual Biomedical Engineering and STEM Education. So, shortly speaking, is the application of our biomedical engineering methods and technologies, both hardware and software, to support medical staff education, also biologist education. That's why in the second part, not connected directly with this project, I would like to show our experience, what we did 25 years ago in project started by Professor Zbyszek Navrat, also in this context of medical staff education, medical staff training. The team of the project, by the way, thank you very much for all of you. In a month, we must finish the project, yes, so we are working now on the last PR project results, which is devoted totally for us, for biomedical engineering faculty. It's connected with the preparation of the course on PhD level called Biomedical Pattern Recognition. So now we, in our cathedra, work on about 12 topics. And one of the goals of this project is to prepare and present to the whole world the presentations. Also, VR environments, mainly prepared by our partners and also the coordinators of the whole project. So the staff, the development of the Page University. So welcome also guys and scientists from the Page University. Unfortunately, the head of the department, Professor Peter Marotti, could not attend us. Maybe he will connect remotely at the end of this session. We'll see. So the Page, by the way, I also made a homework. It's the oldest university in Hungary, yes? Established in 14th century, so really impressed. And this is coordinator and also administrative office of the whole project. And first goal, what we already achieved, is to build the network of cooperation. Mentioned Page, University of Page, Department of 3D modeling, VR, yes, and this kind of stuff, similar to our biomaterials cathedra, field of interest. Then our biomedical engineering faculty, our cathedra of medical informatics and artificial intelligence, University of Porto. Today and tomorrow is another meeting from this project, just in Porto. So some guys from our staff are just in Porto now, but this is a little bit different type of the meeting. And also DX Innovation Center, so the let's say institute on the edge of the scientists and the industry, from Liberec and Prague, Czech Republic. So let's say, okay. So let's have a review, as we are in the field of this science, technology, engineering, of course, math, to support the medical staff training in the modern way. So, short review, we have 7 PRs, project results, first done also by our team. Prepare a survey and publish it. We got several hundreds of feedbacks, evaluation framework for VR platforms, then user manual for VR platforms elaboration, preparing BE on bachelor level CV. We also, because we, of course, you know, we are only one and only BE faculty in Poland, so our BE program was the base to prepare this PR. And the set of mentioned courses, cell biology course, introduction to use VR and augmented reality in just this STEAM education. PR4, courses connected with psychology and stress, fighting with stress, part-time education on VR platform development. It's a Page team who developed the VR environments. Okay, some results. 3D modeling of the object needed in VR, yes, how to move the real object to the VR environment in the model way. And the parts, and last but not least, currently under construction, because the project is relatively short, only 2 years, so we are finishing in a month our biomedical pattern recognition course. Some previous meetings. Natalka Piaseczna, already know. We all know her, is also our, let's say, administrative coordinator, together also with Miss Magdalena, oh my God, our secretary, Magdalena. Okay, the secretary of our cathedral forgot, of course, the surname Magdalena, which also supports us in Grammatica in administrative work. So you can see first result, because also the main goal of today's meeting, like in this, as I said, not hard, tough, but relatively mild project, is the project result dissemination. So we are intensively disseminate using just this a little tricky for me, not to say weird, this name multiplayer event. I understand it as multiplication of project result dissemination. Okay, let's say this is the idea of this part. So you can see the project web page, example of one of the course prepared. And you can see the portal has a worldwide platform, educational platform. And you can see already after 2 months, more than 1,000 enrolled users from all around the world. So also we encourage you to register to the site and just use the knowledge as prepared by this staff. Also the same for all next 6 PRs. Also this our 7th one will be published in the same platform. And shortly the review of the VIBI project. Now let me move to the second part and show our experience in this field. So medical staff educational support using our engineered technologies, of course, from BE, hardware and software, mainly done for last 20, almost 30 years with Professor Zabrze in his projects. We try to add another brick to the wall. Yes, so short review of also my cooperation with Foundation of Cardiac Surgery Development, and but in the context of the medical staff education, so preparing the hardware and software, engineer hardware software to support this crucial process. So we all know, but international guests maybe it will be new, that Zabrze is a special place for medicine and also for biomedical engineering. You can see here on 1 square meter very high level density of medicine and BE, biomedical engineering, due to connection, yes, of Silesian Center of Heart Disease, established by Professor Zbigniew Religa, Foundation for Cardiac Surgery Development, Professor Zabrze as creative director of this institute, also head of the biocybernetics laboratory, also professor of Medical University, one of the strongest in Poland, also located in Zabrze, Institute of Medical Equipment, ITAM, now a part of a very wide and powerful network, Łukasiewicz, of research institutes with the main center in Krakow. Our faculty, our new HTIC set of laboratories, and very good will from both our technical university authorities and the city authorities just to join here to have the effect of synergy, connecting just both biomedical engineers and medical, very strong, both education and just clinics, especially, but not only, also in Gliwice, National Oncology Center. Yes, we have honor to guest here the director of the highest level of oncology treatment in Poland. Professor Blamek, thank you very much for coming. And maybe it started, Zbyszek Nawrat was a participant when it was created with his colleagues by Professor Zbigniew Religa. We all know this famous picture, a surgeon, cardiac surgeon, who performed the first heart transplantation in Poland. And guys, in the time when communism collapsed in the 1980s, he came from US and he did the very big work that the very big clinic of cardiac surgery and cardiology was established here in Zabrze in these very hard, difficult times, and also Institute of Heart Protheses as research and development center to support, to create technologies, just as a bridge, as a platform to connect medical physics, of course, medical doctors, engineers, and managers of healthcare, so on, to create in Zabrze such a strong, as I mentioned, medicine and BE center. Here in this corner, after about 23 hours surgery, this heart transplantation, Professor Romuald Cichoń, now the head, as I know, of the scientific board of the Foundation of Cardiac Surgery Development, also operator, surgeon of a large number of robotic operations using Da Vinci, well known as intuitive surgery, medical robot, mainly in Dresden, in Germany, and also one of the consultants of the project created by Professor Zbyszek Nawrat here, so Polish medical robots, not only as the device, but as a whole ecosystem. And I will try to show in the context, of course, of medical staff education. So Professor Zbigniew Religa, with his team, also created this Institute of Heart Protheses within the Foundation for Cardiac Surgery Development. And now to build something, we know as it's need for the dream, yes, then the idea, and then the people, staff, process to conduct. So Professor Zbyszek Nawrat was just this person. Also who established with his colleagues the artificial, let's say, heart laboratory within this institute in clinical usage for many years, ventricular assist device, yes, as a bridge for the transplantation for these procedures established by Professor Zbyszek Religa. So Professor Zbigniew Religa had also vision to build not only a clinic, but also the research, logistic, let's say, institute to create technology, medical technologies, and to deliver it to the clinical usage. So let's go for a moment to this Polish medical robots projects, not only Robin Heart telemanipulator, but also in case of training, yes, Robin Heart training stands for Polish surgeons to have possibility to use this kind of telemanipulator, both in labs, and we also perform, headed by Professor Zbyszek Nawrat, some really tele-surgery operation, medical robots training procedures, and the path for doctors, medical students, and as I mentioned, this whole ecosystem. So when I yesterday was finishing preparing the presentation, also AI suggested me several photos from Professor Zbyszek Nawrat and Romuald Cichoń. So This is one of the animal experiment in animal lab in Katowice, in hospital in Katowice clinic. Professor Zbyszek Nawrat, Professor Romuald Cichoń preparing the operational scenario for the robot Robin Hart. So you can see here, not 100 people, but about 10, yes, in this team. Professor Romuald Cichoń in the one of the version of user interface. And also one guy who was on the other side of the glass looking, and we also performed and adjusted some control parameters during this operation. So several families, one family, okay, but several versions of this Polish Robin Hart system was created. Time? 5 minutes, okay. Exactly, yes. So also Professor Wilczek laboratory or biologist creating the materials for valve development support in this institute again. But yes, what I'm going to conclude and finish in the case of medical staff training, starting from the early 2000 years, Professor Zbyszek Nawrat, just as visionary, 1 by 1 year prepared the surgery workshops for young students, young and adepts, under the supervision of the masters of surgery just from the surgery clinic. And we also supported some technologies, also virtual one, this 15, 16 years ago, to show these medical students and medical students adepts these technologies. Also another field is to support the cardiac surgery procedure simulations, valve, artificial valve testing stents, and some technology developed. Professor Zbyszek Małota, the head of BioFlow, let's say, stents in the laboratory. Yes, and some technology is 16 years ago to enable the remote access to these sterile, clean labs where valves are tested. Also tested during these training workshops by students. Our teleoperations, telemonitoring, some technology is in these labs. One of the teleoperation.
We must finish.
Okay, testing. Yes, we are finishing. Some technology used from my field. We are learning also students to avoid this kind of code, the spaghetti code. So thousands of things on one screen. Exactly. Yes, sorry for. Yes, and just again some review of the work of Professor Zbyszek Nawrat. And the last but not least, but really fresh project, and again, ended with success. So the post-diploma, really innovative post-diploma study, and the father, again, Professor Zbyszek Nawrat, from our side, Professor Ewa Piętka, Professor Paweł Badura, we all know him, and artificial intelligence and robotics in medicine, courses, post-diploma courses, free of charge, supported by the project. And as I know, for about 30 places, there was about 200 candidates. So it really fits to the needs of medical world. Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to...
Thank you so much.
Keep on going. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Are there any questions? I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. Is anybody wants to ask about something? If not, thank you, Professor, once again.
Thank you again. So I also invite, yes, at the end, kind request to support us a little bit in this project dissemination indicators. Here on the left side, behind the door, we have the VIBE project stands. So you can test on via Google the environments developed and please leave a sign as your email. We are not going to spam you, just send you the material of the project, but we should have also the dissemination list of contacts as a very important, as I heard from administration office, indicator of the project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your attention and for coming here.
And now I'd like to invite Dr. Karol Jędrasiak. Dr. Jędrasiak represented so many institutions, centers, companies that I'm afraid to list all them. I ask him to say a few words about himself, but the one thing which I would like to emphasize that he's one of the best specialists in Poland in virtual reality, and this is what he would like to tell us.
Professor, can I just in the meantime list some affiliation of our specialist, Dr. Karol Jędrasiak? I've prepared, I made homework. So, Dr. Karol Jędrasiak, thank you. You got the invitation to support us here and to present your really important and powerful impact in VR. It's our NATO VR coordinator in the NATO DP Academy. Yes, and just in the last time got exceptional contribution to the EVR instructor congratulations certification program. Also academic teacher, the vice director of the Center of Technology Transfer, also in the previous CEO of the VR technology, now a board advisor of a VR technology company. So the scientist, lecturer, businessman, and VR expert. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Professor, for the introduction. Dear distinguished guests, it's always a great honor to say a few words about virtual reality in front of such a great audience. And today I would like to speak about VR applications in training medical and health science professionals. But before I go, I would like to apologize because the topic is very wide, so I would like to go a bit fast. So I do hope that these materials will be available to you as well. So if there is anything interesting to you or you would like to contact me, you can find the contact information in the bottom of the slide. All the information that I will present you are based on the most modern research results that are presented at one of the largest conferences of IT simulation modeling. It's called HTIC. It's based in Orlando for last more than 30 years. And you can meet there in person people like, for example, the Air Force Commander of United States or the Space Force Commander of the United States, who are the largest developers of such technologies. And you can consult with more than 3,000 companies that present their newest and best research in the field. NATO DP Academy, as it was mentioned, I have a great honor of being a representative for a NATO DP Academy as a VR coordinator. NATO DP is a part of NATO responsible for DIP countries, not member countries, but DIP countries. You can see in the slide what are those DIP countries. If you are interested in this institution, you can find more information behind this link. And let's go to the main topic. So professional competence equals knowledge, skills, and attitude. We all know that rules plus graphical user interface equals expert system, so knowledge can be more or less expressed in this way. But the main question is, how can we actually train skills? This is the most important question. How can we do that in a way that cuts costs, reduce danger, and avoids legal restrictions? Of course, we can use different type of technologies. Now I will just mention in a few slides what kind of technologies are quite widely used in education. So the first one is, of course, the classical training with a blackboard, a whiteboard, like we can see over there. We can do that remotely through the virtual meetings. We can use e-learning platforms, LMS, learning management systems. They have a great features like personalization, variety of formats, and they are quite easy to access due to internet. Of course, digital textbooks, their main, let's say, advantage is that they are actually searchable, so they are interactive, and they are mobile, and we can put some personal notes there, so this is really effective. Educational games. So the main part here is that they give instant feedback. This is very important. And they usually have different levels of difficulty, so we can personalize the experience to the user. And another thing which is very important here is that they actually entertain. So it's not just reading or listening to something, it's actually playing, so it stimulates emotions. It stimulates more parts of our brain, so it's just more effective. Another one is called augmented reality, so where we have a physical world which is augmented with additional elements here. So usually we use a special AR goggles or smartphones to look at some kind of marker. This can be a QR code, it can be a special marker, or it can be just a paper with slides like here. And we can display some additional elements on top of it. This is something that we can easily see, like an anatomical body of a person. We can see that. We can see that in videos. We can see that in books. But when we do that in augmented reality, we look around. We use more parts of our brain. We move our coordination parts of the brain. We move towards, we move backwards, we can try to touch something. More parts of the brain are activated, and therefore this is much more effective in training. Next, we quite often try to use AI in order to support the education. So, of course, automation, data analysis, prediction, and such things. So AI is a topic completely beyond today's scope. One of great examples of it, of course, are chatbots. So the main goal is to allow us to go further in less time. Okay, so we need technology that allows us to learn more in shorter time. So thanks to that, we can actually go further. Another interesting technology is actual image generation. This is an example that I really like to present, where someone who had absolutely no knowledge about art generated an art that is hanged right next to the original because it won the international competition. So it means that you can be a professor in a topic, but if you do not follow the new trends, new technology, new research, you can actually lose this competition to someone who started yesterday, right? So we have to use this new technology, and I do believe this audience understands that perfectly. Next, of course, micro-learning. So we need a small parts of material that are, let's say, similar to real use cases. It's easier to understand. It fits into our shorter and shorter concentration span. Quite often we say that technology lacks humanity, that there are no people inside, there are only technology. This is a, let's say, engineering way of thinking, but all the humanists say that it lacks heart. So we observe a lot of, let's say, emotional and psychological problems regarding that. So they are becoming more and more important aspects. And for example, this AI emotional tool is one of such examples, but this part is really important. Just worth to mention that this application has more than a few millions users worldwide, so it's definitely needed. And finally, when we combine all of that into one, we get something called education engineering. So we gather data, we analyze it, we monitor effectiveness, and we start interdisciplinary cooperation like here in these conferences. But in order to do that, we should discuss and think about some kind of comparability and standardization, because right now we have a lot of technology, almost for anything we would like to do, especially in education, but almost none of that actually fits each other. So this is quite a serious problem, especially from the level of large institutions like, for example, HTIC Academy, where we have countries from all the continents, and when we try to actually create the training together, everyone has everything on their own, but when we try to do it together, we find a lot of gaps, a lot of islands. We call them educational islands, and this is quite a serious problem. Finally, virtual reality, as the name suggests, it's creating a virtual world, usually in some kind of gaming or simulation engine. And in this world, we can do whatever we want. So only the imaginary restricts us. And this is a great place where we can actually put all the information from the previous technologies inside, right? So we can create something which is realistic. We can do it without risk. We can do it as a cheap cost. We can do that remotely or in place. And we actually can use a lot of data which is gathered by this technology to analyze it in order to personalize the content or change the level of difficulties and so on and so on, okay? So all the previous educational technologies can be actually merged into this, let's say, virtual reality applications. So this is one of the most promising technologies that we have. And how do we use this technology? We can use it usually through virtual reality goggles. So we put VR goggles, we take into our hands VR controllers, and we can start interacting with virtual world. We can do that on premise, like you can see in the photo, where usually on some screens of a computer, the instructors can see what the trainees are actually doing. But when we look at this from a, let's say, wider perspective, this is only the first meeting where people are new to goggles. They don't know how to set up to properly configure this personalized equipment. But next meeting, usually half of the people will be online because they say, why should I join the meeting on premise where actually we meet in virtual world, okay? And on the third meeting, almost everyone are actually online because there is no difference between, let's say, meeting on place or in virtual world, okay? So this is very, very promising technology for that. So how to train skills? Just to remind, in a way that cut costs, reduce danger, and avoids legal restrictions. Usually we have like theory, we have practice, okay? But virtual reality is something exactly in the middle. It's not the technology that intends to skips the practice. It's exactly in the middle. I call it interactive theory, okay? So the goal of virtual reality is not to replace the practice, is to aid it in between in such an interactive, modern way. However, we have also another technology called extended reality, and this is a step further, where we, for example, have physical elements and the virtual world, and when we merge them together, we have something which is much more realistic than just waving the VR controllers. However, this is much less scalable and usually much more expensive. Here we have a comparison of those two. So virtual reality is like an interactive theory. This is what I would like you to remember from this presentation. So it's a very wide application. Almost anything can fit into this level. So the main goal is to learn to teach the process, to teach the self-errors and their consequences, so they understand what I do and what are the consequences. And finally, we can simulate everything that is difficult or impossible in reality, so all failures, non-standard states, emergencies, and so on. So the person who finishes a training in virtual reality will understand the theory, will understand the process, the consequences, and possible failure and non-standard states. So when this person starts actual practice, they do it much faster and with much less errors and with much higher, let's say, self-esteem because they already tried everything. But in extended reality, it's a completely different approach. We attempt to enrich practical training. Some even companies try to actually replace the practice, but it might be not possible in the nearest future. But we have a very narrow application. So we have a high quality VR goggles, usually from company like Vario. We have haptic feedback systems, and we have usually motion platforms in order to be as realistic as possible. And we are not interactive theory. We are doing that to learn to teach habits, okay? So muscle memory and habits. And extended reality has two main variants. The first one is where we actually have something physical. So we have, for example, like a phantom, and we try first aid touching the phantom with our bare hands. So we have a special algorithm that tracks our hands movements and our fingers, and we can use it directly on this physical element. It also, in this category, fits all the plane, airplane, and devices, various systems simulations. And this is the preferred option with the highest level of realism, but it's not always possible to use that because sometimes we have so many different scenarios, so many variants inside that it would be impossible to create all those mock-ups that we can touch. Okay, so in this case, we use the variant number 2, where we actually use haptic feedback in order to communicate with the user, and we can see that this haptic usually uses changing forces, vibrations, and movements in order to communicate with the user. So when is a good idea to use virtual reality or extended reality? The best idea is when we need to train many people in a short period of time. Okay, this is the main application. So usually when we have some new systems, some new procedures, and we have to teach as many people as possible in a short time, but we do not do this in a like e-learning matter. I call this like click, click, and go home. What it means, when I open a learning course, quite often I can brute force the answers, and I just forget them immediately. Okay? In virtual reality, it's not possible because I'm not answering the question which describes reality. I'm actually performing those activities, but in virtual reality, so I cannot skip that. Okay? I have to actually do that step by step, and this is the main advantage from my point of view of virtual reality, that you have to experience that yourself. You cannot just read about it. Okay? And when we have to, for example, rehearse all the options and understand the consequences, so for example, using some expensive equipment, and I underlined here in the slide, you can see my mouse. So this, quite often when we think about medicine and training, we think about procedures that we should follow, okay? But procedures are not everything. There is also equipment. So virtual reality is a very good technology, not only to train procedures, but also to train how to use a new and complicated equipment, as for example, as robotic ones mentioned in the previous presentation. When also is a good idea to use VR, when training is difficult or impossible to implement reality, I think that's quite obvious, or when training is dangerous or can result in loss of health or life. So any medical training actually fits into this point number 2. And also there is a lot of military training and altitude training. So when also we should use VR, when our resources are limited. Okay, so for example, in case of Ukraine, we have all the resources limited. We don't have time. We lack experts. We lack components, and we lack places. So we need to actually squeeze the information from experts and actually put it into some kind of training software. And the best, the most effective training software is actually in the form of virtual reality. So it's a good, definitely, idea to actually do it like that. Instead of training hundreds or thousands of teachers, it's better to squeeze the information from them and give a high, advanced, modern support education tool to them so they can actually do their job more easily and with ease and without stress. And finally, when we need to motivate people, okay? Virtual reality is a kind of game, so it can motivate us, generate and stimulate our emotions. So it's really good to encourage habit change, improving morale, building empathy, or any kind of emotion-based content. So this is something that many countries are thinking to use for their, let's say, political issues. And finally, for all the engineers in this room, data-driven decision making. So instead of just setting the rules, we can actually gather data and analyze them in a way that was previously impossible, because in virtual reality, I know where the people look at, how they move, how they react, what actually affected the process. So I know not only that someone has like 50% of the test, I know exactly why they have 50% of test, what was the cause of the mistake. And this is really additional information for us, and we should think how can we actually use it efficiently. So why VR? In just a brief sum up, no surprises. So it's much more objective than a typical teacher. Ability to train skills and competences, and it's usually affordable. Okay, so when we develop virtual reality training, we can scale it as any software. So we need only infrastructure in form of virtual reality goggles, which are becoming more and more popular. And as you can see in the slide, it can become in various forms. It can be a 360 video. It can be a 3D world where we can interact with elements. Actually, there are like more than 6 different types that we can systematically choose depending on the functionalities of virtual reality. And finally, it's a quite good technology for training alone or with instructor. We can avoid this, let's say, negative cheating, which is called click, click, and go home. So this is a great benefit. And then finally, all of those advantages, as I mentioned, work properly if virtual reality training was designed properly. And this is very, very difficult. Unfortunately, a lot of existing solutions are far from being properly designed. They are usually just following one procedure from the book. There are no mistakes to make. There are no any emergencies, no easily explainable consequences of our mistakes. So we just follow something, that's it. Okay, that's not enough. We have to be able to make errors, to make mistakes, to understand the consequences. That's one very important thing. And the second one is it should be realistic. Okay? The best possible way that you can have is where you ask manufacturers of each piece of physical world that you interact with in your training and ask them to be a partner in your project, or maybe even a sponsor of something like a product placement in your virtual reality application, where I'm touching the table. It's not just any table from this company. When I'm touching some kind of medical equipment, it's not just any medical equipment, it's medical equipment from this company. Why it's so important? Because this company is, let's say, responsible for modeling this in virtual world. So they support you to tell you if it is actually represented properly. Okay? And if we do that with all the elements that we have in simulation, we not only have let's say, the companies that sponsor this idea, the education does not have to pay for everything because already companies paid for something in this model, and both actually benefits because we train people to to finally, let's say, use those devices, right? So we are not just using any devices, we are using exactly those devices, so it's much more realistic. And now I would like to show you some interesting examples. One example that was developed here in Poland, it's amniocentesis and simulator. And as you can see, it was based on research, but I will not elaborate too much because I know that the next speaker, Piotr Wodorowski, will elaborate about this topic more. But I would like to mention it because it's something really, really interesting, that it is not based on, let's say, on a book, on an idea, on our understanding of the processes, but it was based on actual research. What I would like to point out here is that when you have a medical procedure and you ask a medical doctor how you do this, they will know the steps, okay? But they will not exactly always understand why. Okay? Why, for example, the screen in ultrasonography looks exactly like this? Why the shade is like this? How much force they put when they touch something? Okay? They have this feeling, they do it for 20 years or more, so they can properly do it and save many lives, but they do not measure how many newtons they put during they touch something. Okay? So there are many interdisciplinary problems here when we try to convert existing reality into virtual world. So this is a much more difficult concept than just talking with medical doctors and, for example, engineers. We also need educators, we need people from psychology, we need teachers. All of them together have to discuss how to do that properly, and that's why it's so difficult to create a good virtual reality training. Here are some more slides. There are also many interesting simulators for learning anatomy. This one was made using Unreal Engine. Also something called Old Age Simulator. This is quite interesting concept where you can actually simulate different diseases of your eyes and hearing. Another one for a patient simulator where you build empathy from the point of view of a patient. So medical staff during training can better understand the reactions of their patients and behave much more empathetically. Of course, surgical simulators. As you can see, this lady is using a haptic devices for, let's say, touching a virtual object. And such devices are quite well known in the industry. And they allow us to, let's say, virtually touch objects. So this is this variant 2 that I mentioned in extended reality. So instead, I cannot imagine that there is a person who allows us to touch them, but I can touch them virtually. It can also be used for pain or physical therapy, for first aid, for example, for soldiers or for firefighters. So this is quite an interesting concept. In this building, we have something called interactive 3D multimedia cave. So it's for all those people who cannot use actually virtual reality in goggles. So patients, so for professional sportsmen, for the highest level professionals who cannot train with anything attached to their body, they can train in such cave, which is in this building. I think this is really great. So just few numbers for finish. So does VR really work? So as you can see, in comparison to existing solution, VR has like 75% of retention rate, and this research was done by PwC by more than 10,000 people. Here we can say also some, let's say, claimings by some companies. I do really enjoy this image from NYU Langone Orthopedics. And you can see the overdrill on sawbones, so on physical training equipment, and overdrill on virtual reality with haptic feedback is, let's say, similar, and actually the VR is even better than VR with haptic, so actually extended reality is better than actually training on physical elements. And this is something very promising that shows that if you do it properly, it can be a very, very effective. It can also not only measure a high retention rate, but you also can shorten the time. So from 120 minutes to even 30 minutes, so times. In some cases, it's even 4 times shorter. So to all students in the room, please imagine that you can squeeze all the studies from 4 years to just 1 year when you use the best technology training. That would be great, but in reality, it would mean that you would go 4 times further than you will go using the classical technologies. Just to point out some immersion levels, so this is quite complicated, but maybe for the other meetings. And finally, some let's say, some words of, let's say, realism. So you heard a lot of advantages, a lot of great words, but one can ask ourselves why it is not here when it's so great, so perfect, it can shorten and improve everything. because unfortunately it's quite costly to create. It requires a very interdisciplinary cooperation, which is very difficult. It is, let's say, it lacks even the basic terminologies. We don't have a basic terminology global-wide. We have a lot of educational islands. So there is one of the NATO DP Academy initiative called GETS. It's Global Education Training, Serious Gaming and Simulation Standards. It will become in a form of institute. And this institute is something that I would like to invite you in the future to join this initiative. And our goal would be to create common terminology, work together to define some standards for evaluation and data comparison, because every company, every institute, every university can create their own technology. That's perfect. But all the results from that should be somehow comparable, and we have to work globally to allow this, let's say, this comparison. And of course, it requires standards and certification. And just to point out, it's not ISO standard, which is a completely technical standard. This is like a teaching or grading standard. This is something that is not yet here. So some, let's say, slogans. So I hope you will remember: reclaiming skills and competences together. And that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the brilliant presentation. As usual, the most interesting points are at the end of the presentation. Time for one question. Of course, Dr. Marcinucki, please.
Thank you for the interesting talk. There was one thing that was quite disturbing for me as a teacher, because you said that we have to squeeze all the knowledge and put it into VR. So is there any future for teachers?
Yes, that's a really good question. I'm a teacher myself as well.
We all are teachers here as well.
Yes, yes. So from my point of view, we are observing some kind of, let's say, evolution or maybe even a revolution of teaching, because instead of training hundreds or thousands of teachers, so each of us have to be expert in, let's say, almost everything. It's more and more difficult, okay? We have a lot of small villages, small cities, small countries. It's very difficult for them to actually participate in a highest level of research and development or collaborate with business. So they are up to the topic. The technologies are changing faster and faster every year. So this is very difficult. So we observe the changing the paradigm that we observed previously in the business with internet. So for example, previously, when I was developing a tool, I could develop a tool for $1 million, for example, and I can sell it to a company. But it will require a lot of discussion, a lot of legal agreements, a lot of tests, a lot of, let's say, activities to do so. But right now, I will not sell it to just one company. I will make it widely available to everyone, and I will say, you can get my $1 million software for $5 or $1. Okay?
Thank you very much. I think we can move the discussion the time after the session. Our expert is also, since the May of this year, the expert and the member of our team of VIBE project. After this session, after coffee break, we plan just information and invitation for all of you to have a tour through the VR, 3D modeling, other labs. So you are invited, all of you who already did not see it. And after this tour, from about 11:30, we've got the roundtable discussion in the VIP first level room, where also Dr. Karl Jędrasiak will be available for discussion for the question. Thank you very much once again. And now it's my honor to invite Dr. Piotr Wadacki as our next expert and speaker. I'm almost sure in a moment professor, because during habilitation procedure. So thank you very much also for being here and to share your really amazing knowledge. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Oh, what's happened here? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I would like to occasion to share our experience in virtual reality. Experience which comes from a few dozen of research section. Research section conducted directly here in this building in our faculty of Biomedical Engineering and in Biomedical and Department of Biomechatronics, and here in building of HealthTech Innovation Center. Directly from our virtual reality laboratory, I will have occasion to present after the presentation. So, a little bit about the experience in virtual reality. I would like to start present, I like this kind of graph, present a lot of devices which occurs on the market during last 100 years. On the chart, you can observe that every 30 years there's a lot of devices conducted with virtual reality. It means that every 30 years we've got special boom for the virtual reality, and at the moment we are in this kind of process. There is there's a lot of devices, a few we can find in the market. We can go to the shop and buy devices for presenting virtual reality, to interact with this kind of virtual reality systems for the session, for the research, for the entertainment. We can say that is a major technology at the moment. Here I've got also a chart. This is in Polish because the report was created by a Polish company, but the chart presents value of the market in the left side, value of the market in $1 billion. On the virtual reality is a small prediction in the following years, and we can observe that it's increasing linearly. It's our prediction that virtual reality is major technology, but we have still a lot of devices on the market using this kind of technology. Where we can find this kind of technology? We can find is a special share in the first on the right side. Is gaming. Is a very popular gaming session. As my previous speaker, Karolin Drasiak, said that gaming is very important, and is a place where we can find a lot of different devices connected with virtual reality. But what is very important for us? Very important is then the second position is health and safety. Health and safety. On the whole world, there is a lot of devices dedicated for medicine, dedicated for different solutions connected with knowledge in medicine, and where exactly we can find special devices dedicated in medicine. And I would like to point your attention on the three fields in our experience. In the three fields, we can find devices dedicated for the medicine. And there's a trainer systems for education in clinicals. There's a support system for planning the operation, for visualization in 3D scale, field of operation and view in this field. And special devices can help us creating the operation, can help us. The doctor and our field of experience, therapeutic systems specially dedicated for diagnosis and rehabilitation systems. And all the pictures from this moment in the presentation comes from our experience here, directly from our research and project we will have occasion to conduct. First project we've got occasion to realize with collaboration in virtual reality technology company was especially dedicated to create system for simulating operation and amniocentesis surgery conducting it was a simulator dedicated for teaching our doctors how to conduct this kind of operation in appropriate way. It was done using in this way that doctors have 3D headset and 3D glasses on eyes and put real needle, put real ultrasonography, and in virtual reality we've got special environment created in this way that with special simulator and motion tracking systems transfer our motion of our hands, transfer position of the devices, especially ultrasonography and needle, in the system into virtual reality, and we can observe on ultrasonography the position of the needle, and we've got interaction with this system in this form, and that we've got forced feedback on the real simulator when we decide to put the needle inside the body. And in virtual reality, we've got a reaction, pain reaction of our patient in virtual reality. It was a simulation. I've got occasion as a final version of the simulator, and I've got occasion to lead this kind of project. And next part of our experience is directly connected with rehabilitation and diagnosis process. And here I would like to share our experience to set our conclusion directly from the research. This is quite good technology because we can adapt real devices directly from gym, from medical places, and conduct the devices, connect with virtual reality projection to put the devices on the higher level and connect to create special dedicated rehabilitation. The rehabilitation can be prepared in this way, and that every time we can set element of the rehabilitation on the same level according to dimension of our patient, to possibilities of the motion of our patient in this kind of form. Here we've got 3D, cave 3D systems. Is a system for multi-world projection of stereoscopic view, and our patient is inside, feel the application. It seems to him that he's inside 3D application, and we can interact with the application. For example, here balloon is coming to our patient, and we can destroy them, and the balloon can be on the same level for different height of the patient. For example, we can create individual characteristic of treatment process. We can also implement inverse interaction, inverse exercise program directly with traditional devices. We can put special elements in the game on the devices and game in the game and create different scenario of the rehabilitation using the same of device. We had experience to create this kind of, for example, on the treadmill, walking on the treadmill, interaction with human-machine interface, measurement in brain activity connected with the virtual reality in cave system and in the Googles. But it is our experience create impact, create connection, our patient with virtual reality in this way that when we are inside in 3D application, you think that you can play in the game. You think that you play game, you can do or you can realize different scenarios, and you've got special task to do, and it was designed in this way that it is the part of rehabilitation process. Rehabilitation, I mean, it is diagnosis process, and I mean also that it is a therapeutic process. Diagnosis can be in real time at the beginning, during the rehabilitation, during the game, and every short period of time we can obtain the data from the patient because we've got the motion capture systems, we've got special sensors located on our body, and we can also create this kind of systems using special sensor located on our body. We can connect and create diverse inter-application with the devices, And everything can be realized by low cost associated with modifying the scenarios of the application. And we can modify the application. It can be easy when you've got this kind of systems and you decide to spend money for example, case systems. You can have a lot of different applications. It's easy to create different scenario and dedicate this kind of rehabilitation for different, for example, neurological surgery problems and rehabilitation after, surgery intervention. Here I've got small movies directly from our research and our experience, how our children in the rehabilitation center comes to our cave systems, and we can observe reaction children for this kind of technology. We can observe that children are inside in 3D game. We are connected with 3D space, with scenario of the application. Very often when you've got 3D glasses, you can forget about the real world around of you. It's quite good because the immersion of this kind of system is very high. For example, here we can put the blocks on the line, and we can interact with elements in this kind of virtual reality space. This is an application created at the moment by me. And it was done in this way that our patient can be inside, can be connected. In this way, we've got a few elements of this kind of rehabilitation, a few fields that we can help using this kind of systems and simulation function, adaptive function, compensation, correction function using this kind of technologies. This is special designed for therapy for the children with intellectual disabilities. Here, therapy can be created improving intellectual problems and can be designed for somatic development, social development, and mental problems. And when you've got this kind of system that we have occasion to present after the presentation here in our virtual reality laboratory, when you are inside, you feel that you are inside in 3D application. You can interact with the element inside in 3D space, and the immersion is very, very high. We can use this kind of systems not only for rehabilitation, not only for diagnosis, but only for presenting different environment created in the space. We can also transfer this kind of technology for the mobile system using headsets, and we've had a small experience in static and dynamics tests of body balance using virtual reality. And using this kind of technology, we can have real feedback, for example, in the posture correction and objective evaluation of the rehabilitation process. I would like to show you also a few applications created by our team, applications especially dedicated to create conflict of sensory in our body. You can observe motion of the application, but you don't feel the motion, and we can measure reaction and how you interact with the application in this kind of conditions. Very interesting because we've got experience in diagnosis, special problems in neurological problems using this kind of test. We can also transfer the rehabilitation for the mobile system and controlling the application by special designed sensors designed for motion captures, and using this kind of motion capture systems. We can use different parts of our body, can be wrist, elbow, and parts of upper limbs to controlling the application, to steering the scenery, and we can create a very, very motivating scenario application. We've got also experience in research connected with measuring brain activity, especially in near-infrared spectroscopy, in EEG signal, connected with virtual reality interface, with controlling of different signals, and creating special interaction can conduct to reaction in our brain, inside our body, and the special reaction and the special disturbances created in virtual reality. Using this kind of motion capture systems, we've got a few possibilities to measure reaction of the body with very high accuracy, and we've got here occasion to support not only diagnostic diagnosis, but we've got also occasion to support sport. And our sponsors here is Robert Lewandowski during our research section and dedicated for measuring reaction on different behaviors in virtual reality, and we've got occasion to do this kind of research. But in our history, we conduct research with different sports and especially in martial arts to avoid the collision with the object in virtual reality, and fencing training and ski jumping. And using this kind of technology, we can create special environment in different conditions to interact with sportsmen and measure reaction, for example, for different behavior in virtual reality. We've got also practical application in hospital, this kind of systems I can present, and here on the right side is our practical application on after-stroke hospital, after-stroke institute in the hospital here in Silesia. But we've got also experience to share our knowledge on different parts of the world. Here, it was our inspiration to create virtual reality laboratory dedicated for rehabilitation directly from 2015. Is on the Lido small hospital in Italy, and we've got also occasion to observe how this kind of system work in the practice using biomedical engineer. But very often, when we want to create something in the virtual reality and to put something in the hospital, very often we meet the answer that when I've got the glasses or Google in 3D space, I feel sick. I feel sick, and is this normal? Because the simulation sicknesses are symptom similar to motion sicknesses. Because, for example, when you are inside the car while driving the car, or when you are a passenger in the car, when you focus your attention on the mobile, when you cannot observe the motion of the car, but you feel the motion, you've got conflict in your sensors. This is a motion sickness. But in simulator signals, we've got the same, but this is opposite information. We can observe the motion, but very often we don't feel the motion in the virtual reality. But the reaction of our body on this kind of behavior is very often we feel sick or we want to vomit. It is created because very, very often, a lot of years ago, it was created, this kind of feeling was created when we eat something what was wrong, and our body tried to protect ourselves with this kind of this is natural reaction created with our body, and last 20 years when we've got the virtual reality on market, it's difficult to change it. But in our science profession, we've got some experience how to interact, how to try to predict our body for this kind of reaction. And there are a few possibilities how to minimalizing of, not eliminating, but minimalizing of these simulator symptoms and simulator sicknesses. For example, by closing field of view, by putting in the virtual reality elements of the game that we can observe that the motion in the same time of the motion of our body. It can be parts of our body or parts of the nose, and there is a special line in flying and when we move very fast in virtual reality. And this is the possibilities to minimalizing or not eliminating simulator sicknesses. And Using the problem with the virtual reality, I would like to focus your attention on the special element, how to create something in the virtual reality, create the application, create the systems, and the system should be created with the health and safety regulation. And I decided to create with cooperation with Dr. Jędrasiak and the Goethes institution. We prepare special regulation based on 5 pillars of the security of the systems in the virtual reality. And today I will present the 5th pillar, but not in the detail. But very often when we want to use virtual reality system, it is important to create safety and usable space around the people who want to keep controllers in the virtual reality, want to have HMD systems on the head, because every time you use this kind of systems, you are out of real world. You are out of real world, and interaction by your motion with real world is difficult to keep. We've got also a special external reality system, mixed reality system, but in traditional virtual reality is not possible. But I would like to point your attention on one sentence on the hygienic and disinfection during this kind of system. We've got here information directly from the research that there are some pathogens on the glasses, bacteria, and can be mitas, and this kind of form of small worms, and this kind of worms can be shared by changing glasses very often by the people, and hygienic is a very big problem using this kind of system. Of course, the next part is software security, is a psychological security and software security. We've got this kind of field of security for the application, creating scenario and the special regulation for it. Safety of the equipment is very common because we've got standard created by Europe Union and this kind of form, and special documentation. And we've got special event dedicated for the 5 pillars of the security and health and safety systems, and all of you take my invitation for the event. 4th November this year, so we created special event here in it's open for all of you. Take my invitation, but it's open for all the people interested in this topic, and we prepare a special event dedicated only for healthy, safe and healthy in virtual reality system, in game system, especially dedicated for medicine, but not only in medicine, especially in the game, but we will try to discuss, create a discussion and present you the problems we can meet using virtual reality systems in natural way in the rehabilitation process on your home, in your experience. And thank you for your attention, and I hope that was interesting.
Thank you very much for a brilliant presentation. We got a time for 1-2 short question. Of course, Professor also will be available during the break, after the break in labs, after the labs tour in a roundtable discussion. So thank you very much again. Thank you very much, all speakers. Thank you very much, Professor Jacek Jurkosz as a co-chair. Thank you very much, first of all, for you that you found the time to join us here in your very busy calendars. Let me repeat, yes, my kind request just to test real virtual reality on real Oculus Google behind the doors on our project YEB stand. I also of course, a part for other great session we have today after this session, and another I would like also, because it's the session organized by student organization, so also our brilliant students, I would like to invite you to the session which starts 2:30 p.m. And this is also a unique program because in our university we have IEEE student branch. So this powerful engineer organization has a branch created by the students, our active students. So you will have occasion to see the results, and under the supervision of Professor Speretta Giolemati. Professor, are you here with us? Yes, thank you very much. This will be distinguished lecturer and supervisor of this session, together with the students team. And at the end, I would like to really thanks also to many students for our international BE groups and Polish studies, especially Ms. Zuzanna Łazorko, Ms. Daniel Mróz, but not only as a representative. You will meet them at our testing stand, really for the support in the whole VIBE project. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of you for coming here, for supporting us in all our activities, because BE can only exist with the cooperation or to support, to provide technology to our masters in medicine world. So thank you very much once again. And we're starting the tour after the coffee break, so about in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.